Hey Saiko, did you know a supervillain from the Negative Zone is trying to take over the universe? In the video game Marvel Cosmic Invasion? Let's join Marvel's Mightiest Heroes and show that bad guy who's boss. The premise of the game is simple. A Marvel supervillain named Annihilus, who is apparently the ruler of the Negative Zone in the comic book world, has entered our zone, bent on spreading his evil hatred and taking over our universe. His next step is, you guessed it, planet Earth. Which is funny because I don't think it's a spoiler to reveal that our beloved heroes do eventually thwart Annihilus's plans, but they only start fighting back because he reached Earth, which begs the question. If he never attacked Earth, would he have had free reign across the universe? Could he have conquered everything but our planet or maybe our galaxy and been left alone? And what's even funnier is that in the Marvelverse, the universe is populated with hundreds or even millions of life-filled planets, and the space in which our little ball exists in is but a speck of dust compared to the infinite vastness that is all of outer space. I mean, Annihilus just randomly stumbling upon the Earth is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of a planet. So he's either the unluckiest supervillain around to happenstance across Earth, or the dumbest or cockiest villain around to purposely challenge us and our mighty heroes. The game doesn't really explore this question, so we can only guess. But either way, Annihilus is in for a world of pain. Assisting him on his conquest are these bug-like creatures that are essentially his Foot Clan, or putties. He also employs these mind-controlling slugs that can infect organic beings and even robots. How it can brainwash a sentinel? You got me, but they can. And once under slug control, they become Annihilus' slave and join his fight for universal domination. But as I mentioned before, because he chose Earth as his next target, his little plan is about to run into the brick wall of Marvel superheroes. We have Spider-Man and Wolverine, Iron Man, and even She-Hulk to do some major damage. But there's also this guy, who reminds me more of Dan from Street Fighter than an actual Marvel superhero. But if someone watching this video is a legit fan of this character, feel free to enlighten me of his awesomeness in the comments below. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is an arcade-style side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's made by Tribute Games, the same developers behind Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and therefore when it comes to these style of arcade brawlers, they know what they're doing. However, they didn't settle with just making Shredder's Revenge but with a new skin. They added a nice little twist to the combat. Instead of playing as only one character, you get to select two heroes, and you can swap between them anytime you want while playing through a stage. Even cooler still, you can call in your alternate hero as an assist to perform heavy combos. This mechanic plays similarly to how assists work in fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's a great gameplay addition to the arcade brawler formula. The controls are easy to pick up, but like all good games, they have a little more depth than one would at first think. There's a light attack, which you can bash to lay down your standard combos. Then there's a strong attack that actually behaves differently depending on which hero you're playing. For instance, She-Hulk's strong attack performs a grab, which you can use to toss or slam your opponent, while Captain America's strong attack throws his shield, as he's wont to do. It's fun playing each character and seeing how their light combos and strong attacks differ. You can also dodge or parry, which once again varies by hero. Heroes who are quick and nimble can dodge attacks to evade them, but heavy tank-like heroes will guard instead of dodging. And if you guard right at the moment of impact, they'll do a parry that can open up the enemy for a counterattack. Once again, it's fun to see how each hero behaves. If you prefer to dodge, you can play quicker heroes, but if you're a parry type of player, you can play as the tanks. And of course, you can split the difference and select both types of heroes and swap them out depending on the enemy you're facing. It lets you adapt your tactics based on the situation you're in. As one would expect, you can jump and attack in the game too, but in keeping with the standard of the game set, things you can do in the air vary depending on which character you're playing. For heroes that can fly like Iron Man or Storm, hitting jump whilst in the air will trigger them to fly so you can pummel your foes from above. But for web slingers like Spider-Man or Venom, jumping in the air and holding the attack button will initiate their swing attack. And for She-Hulk, if you jump into a bad guy in flight and perform her strong attack, she'll grab the opponent and slam them to the ground. And finally, each character has their own unique super move. As you beat up baddies, your power meter charges, and once it's fully charged, you can unleash a special attack that deals damage across much of the screen. Each one looks great and is thematically appropriate for each hero, but if I'm honest, none of the special moves did very much damage. I was expecting them to hit harder, but I suppose at the frequency in which your meter charges, it wouldn't make sense to make them truly devastating. As they are now, they're best used against basic grunts when they're surrounding you from all sides. My only complaint with the gameplay is that throughout all the missions there was never any one-off special gameplay style levels. For instance, in Shredder's Revenge there were a couple levels that took a break from the standard combat in favor of high-speed hoverboard action. Also in Power Rangers Rita's Revenge, another arcade brawler but from a different studio, the developers sprinkled in Megazord levels which played completely differently than the side-scrolling action. These types of levels sort of act like a bridge in a song. They change up the formula to something completely different, so the fighting never gets repetitive. But in Cosmic Invasion, there's no break in the combat gameplay. Each level, while fun, is simply another permutation of the same gameplay throughout. And I feel like this was a missed opportunity, especially in the superhero genre and with heroes that can fly. It would have been cool to have levels where only flying characters could play, and maybe the gameplay could have been inspired by something like Galaga. Flying through the skies is Iron Man blasting bad guys with your energy beams, or a Storm knocking baddies out with her tornado or lightning powers. This is a small nit because the overall game was still really fun and the action plays really well, but it does feel like they left something on the table. Just like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, Marvel Cosmic Invasion is rendered with wonderful sprite art. It looks like an arcade game from the 90s and it looks great. I love the style and I'm happy to see these 2D sprite-based games going strong with studios like Tribute Games. The art for all the characters look great, the Marvel superheroes look very much like their comic book counterparts, and overall it brings forth that X-Men '97 energy. Each hero has their own movesets and attack animations that work really well for their character. The enemies are equally fun and designed well. Even though the standard bad guys repeat often in brawlers such as this, their sprite art is vibrant and lively, and so they never became boring to fight. Plus, the game has enough variety in enemy types that it remained fun beating them up over and over throughout the entire game. The levels and environment are also designed really well. They look very much like a comic book world come to life. The stages vary throughout each mission, so again, you don't get bored by fighting through the same environment over and over. The only weak point in visuals, which is a bit of a nitpick, is the world map. I don't know if they just ran out of time or were sleeping on the job, but the world map looks like a game of connect the dots. Compared to the Shredder's Revenge world map, which rendered out a complete city, Cosmic Invasion's world map seems like an afterthought, just a way to connect missions to each other. It honestly looks like something you built for a prototype, but not the final product. But again, if there had to be one area of the game where the visuals were skimped on, the world map is the correct choice, because fortunately the characters and stage visuals are top notch. I had a lot of fun with Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Tribute Games already convinced me of their awesomeness with Shredder's Revenge, so it's nice to see they lived up to the high standard I placed on them. But they actually outdid themselves by a little bit because they evolved the gameplay with the multiple heroes and assist gameplay mechanics. The world map is underwhelming, but this really is a trivial complaint when compared to the quality of the overall gameplay. And the game is short, I beat it in under 3 hours, but that's expected given the nature of side-scrolling brawlers. Finally, although it has a nice selection of Marvel heroes, they definitely won't have everyone's favorite. While they have Spider-Man and Wolverine and Venom, they also have whoever the hell this guy is. But with all that said, I still want to give kudos to Tribute Games for a job well done. So I'm giving Marvel Cosmic Invasion a 4 out of 5. The developers at Tribute Games are obviously very comfortable making these style of games, and so they could have just made a reskinned version of Shredder's Revenge and called it a day. But instead, they innovated the genre, which keeps these style of games evolving. If you like these style of games, and especially if, like me, you grew up playing the Turtles arcade game and its ilk, you're gonna have fun with Tribute Games' Marvel Cosmic Invasion. The gameplay is fun single player, but it does support up to 4 players, so order up some grub, call up your buddies, and spend the evening saving the universe with your friends playing as their favorite, or not so favorite, Marvel heroes. I hope Cosmic Invasion sells enough that Tribute Games gets a chance to create a DLC or two to expand the game with more levels, more heroes, and maybe a better world map. Also, I hope they throw in some flying stages too, because I think it's a good idea, so make it happen, Tribute Games.
Just do it!
Overall, I really enjoyed the game and I love that they added in something new gameplay wise, and it makes me even more excited for the next steps they take in these side-scrolling beat-em-ups. I'm particularly curious about what they have in store for their next big release, which is slated to arrive next year.